All right, everybody, welcome back. Good late morning. We've still got more edge work to do. We've got a lot, actually. Most drafts have a lot of edge players, and this draft doesn't feel like it's any kind of exception. We've got another first round guy here with Laiatu Latu. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he did start his career in college at Washington as a Husky and didn't really do that much. Went to UCLA and broke out big time. So let's talk about Latu and figure him out. Going to be 23 when the season starts. 6'5", 259 pounds. So he's a little bit bigger than most of these guys, which right away informs us a little bit about where he might fit best. 32 and 5/8 inch arms. That's not really encouraging. I'm looking at that and I'm going, what's this guy's ceiling going to be with short arms like that? That makes life harder for these edge rushers. 9 and 5/8 inch hands. The testing was okay. The 40 time was really good. 10-yard split was pretty good, but the vert was lackluster and the broad was mediocre. So he's not exactly a physical specimen. He's pretty good. He's good enough. Every big board puts him in the top 20, actually top 18. They all have him in basically that same middle first round area. The database has him at 16, so exactly in the middle. 16, by the way, where the Seahawks pick. So if the aggregate is to be believed, then that is the optimal value. So Latu, crazy productive the last 2 years for UCLA. Last 2 seasons, he's had 85 tackles, ridiculous number of them for a loss. That's 34 tackles for loss? He didn't play in 34 games, I'll tell you that. 23 and a half sacks, couple of picks last year. 3 passes defensed, 5 forced fumbles. PFF grade last year was 96.3. I don't know if I've ever seen a PFF grade that high for a whole season for any player, pro or college. 96.3. You're doing something right. You're impressing the heck out of the graders to do that. Even the year before. And a lot of the time when you look at these edge players, you only see 1 year of top-end production. This guy had 2 years of it. So a little respect for Laiatu Latu doing what he did in UCLA. A conference not known for defense and a team that wasn't stellar. So the production is kind of the first sentence on the resume here. He's got an insane amount of production over the last couple years. Really good at using his hands, really good at hand placement, really good at understanding how to use his hands when he's engaged with offensive linemen to take control of the rep. He's another one of these guys who is going to come out of the box with a good variety of pass rush moves that he can use on offensive linemen, which, again, not all these guys have that. He always gives maximum effort. There's no concern about him taking plays off or anything like that. He's got pretty good bend around the corner as well. He doesn't have the hyper elite bend of a Dallas Turner, but he does have bend, and he uses leverage pretty well. He's a little bit taller than some of these guys, but he does understand how to be the low man when he hits a blocker. And he is maximizing what he can get out of his athletic abilities in many ways. Now, Latu actually missed basically 2 seasons in college. One was the COVID year, but then the year after that, he missed the whole year as well, I think. So I think those were neck injuries. So you're talking about neck injuries. It's like, he takes the wrong hit one more time and his career is over before it even begins. So we got to be concerned about the neck. His short arms make it hard for him to shed blockers. Like, he's good at using his hands to keep them off of him, maybe. He's good at getting around them with his bend. He's good at utilizing a move to make sure he never gets locked on. But shedding the blocker once they're attached is tough for him. He's not that strong either. He doesn't have a ton of strength, which, he's a bigger guy. You would expect that, but not really. He can get pushed around when he's playing run defense. He can get pushed out of the play by drive blockers. So there is a little bit of a concern with Latu's strength and ability to hold up on rundowns. And he doesn't have a tremendous burst off the snap. It's not bad, but it's definitely not what Dallas Turner or Jared Verse or even the guy we're going to talk about in a couple minutes here brings to the table here. So when I look at Latu, I see a guy who is getting a lot out of his athletic profile, but I see an athletic profile that is just a little bit limited. And I wonder how well it works at the NFL level personally. Not having that burst, that first step quickness around the edge that's a big piece of the puzzle here. So he doesn't have over the top tools, but he has enough going on to make it in the NFL. Like, you look at the way he uses his hands, you look at his pass rush moves, you look at his effort, his bend. He should find his way in the NFL. I think he'll be a better fit in a 4-3. I think he's meant to play with his hand in the dirt all the time and just keep it simple. Let him go get the quarterback. It's what he does really well. He's got 23.5 sacks over the last couple of years. Don't make him play in coverage. Don't make him play standing up. That's kind of how I feel. So I would give Latu a first-round grade, but honestly, I don't know how much higher I can go than that. Like, I know that the other big boards all have him in the top 20. I don't know if I'm feeling it. Like, there are too many lower ceiling elements at play here for me to love this. Final guy who's got a first-round grade on him right now, and it's not by much, is Chop Robinson. Not his real name. It's like Demion Robinson, but Chop Robinson's a great name, so we're going to roll with that. Penn State Nittany Lion. Only 21, another one of these younger edge players. 6'3", 254 pounds, pretty good size. 32.5-inch arms. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, we're going to come back to that because that's a big deal. That's no small thing. 9 1/8-inch hands. Testing was excellent. Incredibly good 40, 4.48. Incredible 10-yard split, same as Dallas Turner. The vert was okay. The broad jump was massive. I think it was the biggest broad jump of any edge player in this crop. If not, it's certainly the best of any of the top guys. 10 feet, 8 inches. Really good 20-yard shuttle as well, 4.25. So this guy's a phenom athlete. And 4 of the big boards have him in the first. Walter and PFF have him in the second. The database puts him at the back end of the first. And one of the reasons why he doesn't have everyone believing in him would be his production over the last 2 years at Penn State. Over the last 2 years, he has a grand total of 41 tackles. Now, 17.5 for a loss. That's really good. We like that. 9.5 sacks. I feel like Latu could get that in 1 month if he really wanted to. In fact, if somebody wants to go back and see if Latu ever had a month of football where he had 9.5 or more sacks, let me know. It wouldn't shock me. He's that good. 3 passes defense, 3 forced fumbles. PFF grades have been on point. Both years above a 90. So he's doing something right. But the actual production is leaving people wanting. And you can see why. It's not an unreasonable thought. So what makes Chop Robinson appealing would be his phenomenal speed and burst off the edge. He gets upfield so fast on his pass rush sets. These tackles are not going to know what hit him. So that, he's got off to a great start just with that. He can drop into coverage on 3-4 duties. He's shown the ability to do the coverage stuff, which, again, if you're looking for a 3-4 end, which we are, this is the kind of guy I think you start with. His motor never stops running, high effort. He's got upper level strength for an edge player as well. This is not just a Darrell Taylor situation where he's a speedster with no ability to hold his ground. And he uses his bend. He's got great bend. Getting around that corner, it's just so smooth, so fluid. Really hard to do anything about it as an offensive tackle. So Chop Robinson, easy to fall in love with the more you look into him and the more you understand what makes him such an appealing prospect. But we're going to have to talk about those arms. We just have to. 32.5-inch arms is trouble. That's trouble. That means offensive tackles are going to get into you before you get into them. That means you're going to have a hell of a time shedding blockers. That means you're going to have a harder time wrapping up when you're tackling. That's part of the reason why Chop Robinson has such a low tackle count these last 2 years. He misses a lot of tackles. And he's not always involved in the play as much as he should be because he doesn't shed that well. So that's something that he can't do anything about. You can't get longer arms. There's no surgery that you can get to make that better. So that is something we have to take very seriously because it can't get better. Doesn't yet have a lot of pass rush moves. He mostly depends on his speed. He's only got a little bit going on in like the actual move department. Usually I'm not going to let that bother me for a 21-year-old because they're going to have time to learn. They're going to have time to pick stuff up. He generally does need to improve in holding up against the run. He's got the strength for it, though. I like his strength. I just think that he gets out of position a little bit against the run. He's a little too eager to get upfield sometimes. He's not a very good tackler, like I've said before, and his production just isn't there. It's almost like a Micah Parsons sequel, right? Like Chop Robinson could be the next Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons being what he is in the NFL, is that just a trend or is it that just a fluke? Right? Because if Penn State's going to become this churning ground, this breeding ground for linebackers who aren't that effective in college but become superstars in the NFL, then okay, but why? Like, what is Penn State doing wrong? They're doing something wrong. So, after that combine, I do think he's pretty clearly a first round pick, but there are some things here that he cannot overcome. Like looking at Chop Robinson, I don't think he'll ever be the super duper star. His arms are too short, and there's nothing he can do about that. And I know that sounds like I'm picking on him for something that doesn't have to matter, but it's just hard to overcome. Some players have done it. But 32.5-inch arms on an edge player, an elite edge player, is taking away a lot of potential from you. I think he's a great fit for a 3-4 defense, so I'd say he's fair value around the 20th pick or so. If he's there at number 20 overall, and I'm picking and I'm running a 3-4 defense and I need an edge player, Chop Robinson, I'm down. I am completely down for it. If we're going to take him, I'd rather trade down a little bit to get in that range. But I like this guy better than Latu after having a chance to dig into him. I think there's more potential. And, I mean, Latu has the same kind of sort of problem that Chop, right? It's the same thing, short arms. All right, that's it for the first rounders. Let me know what you think of these two. Gonna do more videos about the later edge players today. See ya.